Hey, how's it going, geeks? Welcome back to the channel. Man, mining rigs, they can be a pain in the butt. Am I right or am I right? Well, it seems a lot of you guys are still having problems getting your Vega 64 or Flash 56 mining rig running with more than 4 cards. I've been reading through all of the comments lately, and it seems a lot of you guys are having issues. And I mean a lot, well over 10-15 people. So what I'm about to do right now is unplug everything. We're gonna start from the absolute beginning, and I'm gonna show you guys step by step, both hardware wise and software wise, how to get your Vega 64 mining rig up and running with more than 4 cards. I'm even gonna go as far as resetting the BIOS. I'm gonna uninstall all the drivers and start from step 1 with a single card. So let's get to it. Alright, so as you guys can see, I have everything unplugged. I have just the graphics cards sitting on the frame because there's no need to take them down really. But you guys can clearly see all the power cables and the riser cables are unplugged. I have my server power supply right here. All the connectors aren't connected and all the 7 riser cables just sitting here. I'm currently running a single stick of DDR4 RAM and both of these M.2 to PCIe adapters to be able to run 8 cards. You guys can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 PCI Express connectors, thanks to both of these M.2 to PCIe adapters. They're pretty easy to connect. You slide them into this connector piece back here, and you just throw a little screw on there, and that's all there is to it. So what I'm about to do next is connect an HDMI cable to the motherboard, and I'm gonna run the Intel HD graphics, and I'm gonna delete all of the drivers for the Radeon cards. And then after that, I'm gonna go back into the BIOS and reset the BIOS, and we're gonna start all the way from step 1. Alright guys, once we're in the BIOS, there's going to be a few things we need to toggle in order to get the cards to be detected properly by the system. Most of the time when people have issues not being able to get all the cards detected, 90% of the time is because they forgot to turn something on in the BIOS. So in this particular motherboard, the Z270P, we're gonna hit F7 for advanced mode. Then we're gonna go to the right all the way to advanced. In advanced, we're gonna go to System Agent SA, and we're gonna enable above 4G decoding. This is absolutely crucial. Your system will not work if you don't enable this. So we're gonna click enable. Then we're going to go down to DMI OPI configuration, and we're going to set the link speed to Gen 1. Then we're going to go back again. We're going to go into PEG port and set this to Gen 1 as well. Then we're going to go back twice, and we're going to go down to PCH configuration, and in here we're gonna set the PCI Express configuration speed to Gen 1 as well. We're gonna go back twice, and the last thing we gotta do is go to onboard devices and set our M.2 to PCIe if we're running M.2 to PCIe adapters. So we're gonna hit enter, and that's all there is to it as far as the BIOS. The last thing we're gonna do is hit F10, to save all of our settings. Alright, so just a quick recap of what we've done so far. We unplugged all of our cards. We got the system running on the Intel HD graphics. We've removed all of our drivers using our DDU. And we went into the BIOS and set the motherboard up to be able to handle all the extra cards. So now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna connect one single graphics card and we're gonna reinstall the drivers and then we'll go from there. Alright, so when we're installing the new drivers, instead of hitting Express Install, we're gonna hit Custom. And in here, we're gonna uncheck everything but the AMD display drivers. And then we're gonna hit Install. Alright, so we have one single Radeon RX Vega connected. So you can see right here, there's only one plugged in. Now the next thing we're gonna do is just restart the system and connect the rest of the cards. I almost completely forgot to record this part. We're gonna want to set our virtual memory size to 60 gigabytes. We're gonna do that by pressing start, type in performance, hitting this one up here. We are gonna go into advanced and we're gonna change our virtual memory. And we are gonna set this to 60,000 megabytes, which is the same as 60 gigabytes. Then we're gonna hit set, hit OK, and we're gonna restart the system afterwards. Alright, so we got the miner assembled once more. Now we're gonna turn it on and wait for all the cards to be detected. Alright guys, so once the system has detected all of our cards, as you guys can see right here in the device manager, the next thing we're going to want to do is go into the registry editor and follow that same path I showed you guys in my tutorial. If you guys aren't familiar with the registry editor, you guys should definitely check out my tutorial down below. I'll have a link down there. It walks you guys through most of this. In that same place, you're gonna find all the folders for all of your Vega cards. In this particular case, we're gonna be looking at folders 0001, 0003, 5. Oh, I guess it wasn't done detecting the drivers. 6, 7, and 8. The last card never shows the name. I'm not quite sure why, but you can tell it's one of the cards simply by the driver description. If it shows up as 687F colon C1, then you know it's your Vega card. And you can also tell just based on the fact that it has a crossfire option in the folder. So what we're gonna do is go to each one of the folders. We're gonna double click enable crossfire autolink and we're gonna set this to 0. And we're gonna do the same for enable ULPS. And we're gonna do this for every single card. And once we're done doing that, we're gonna apply our registry power play table to each of the folders as well. So in this particular case, we're going to need folder 0, folder 1, which I have right here already set up. We're going to skip 2, which is already good. We're going to need 3. We're going to skip 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and folder 8. So we're gonna need to add another one. We're gonna rename this to folder 8. We're gonna hit edit, and we're gonna change this number up here to 8 as well. Like I mentioned earlier, all of this is explained in the tutorial below. You guys should honestly probably watch that tutorial before even watching this video. So once we have all this, all we have to do is just apply each registry file. So now what we've just done is we've disabled the crossfire on every single card, and we've also applied the registry power play table. And now the last thing we're gonna do is restart the system, and it should stop flickering after that. It's probably flickering on and off right now due to crossfire. Alright, now that we've restarted the system, we do want to run the system using the Intel HD graphics. That way when you turn these devices on and off, it's not gonna affect anything. So we're just gonna be running off of the Intel HD graphics, and we're gonna double check to make sure the power play table got applied to this, and also that the crossfire link got disabled as well. So we're gonna hit run once more. Reg edit, just like last time. And we're gonna go through all of our folders and make sure the crossfire link and the enable ULPS was disabled. As you can see right here, we have 2 zeros, so that's good. So the last thing we're gonna want to do now is check to make sure the power play table got applied. Since we didn't install Wattman, we're not gonna be able to check through there. So instead, we're gonna use this tool called OverdriveNT or OverdriveN. And this is the only tool I have found that doesn't affect the drivers negatively. Everything else seems to make the cards drop hash rate or just have issues overall. That way we didn't. That's why we didn't install the Wattman settings earlier on. So we can see right here, our Vega 1 has a memory frequency, a P3 state of 1100, which is awesome because that's the registry mod we applied, the 1100 one. So they should all have 1100 in the P3 state for memory, 1408 for the P7, and 1212 for the P6. Let's see if that's true. Alright, so it appears everything got applied properly. So we have our crossfire disabled and we have our power play table applied. The only thing we have to do now is set a fan speed. But I would highly recommend getting a watt meter before you even turn the system on, because the drivers are extremely buggy. And even though you're seeing these numbers right here, you might be getting something completely different out of the wall. Alright, now for the very last step before turning the miner on, we're going to bring the millivolts down on P6 and P7 to 890. And the millivolts on P3 to 870. We're going to save it. And we're going to choose whatever name we feel like saving it as. In this case, I'm going to save it as YouTube. And now we're going to bring the minimum RPM to 2500. And we're going to hit apply. And we're going to do this for every single card. After the first one, you can just hit load because it saves this given profile, and then hit apply afterwards. I forgot to mention we have to disable each card individually also. These are all just bugs with the system. Hopefully they figure something out in the future to get this working better. And that's why we're running off of the Intel HD graphics. Because if you had this plugged in directly to a graphics card, I've noticed it makes the system crash every now and then. Awesome, so the last thing we have to do is enable them all, and then we just run the miner and we're on our way.